الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي ليس لأوليته ابتداء ولا لأزليته انقضاء وانحصرت الأوصاف عن كنه معرفته ورضعت عظمته العقول والذي لا تواري عنه سماء ولا أرض أرضاه ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد البطحاء سيد المرسلين والأنبياء أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى وعلى الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء سيدة النساء فاطمة الزهراء وعلى بعلها أمير المؤمنين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا لا سيما على بقية الله وحجته الكبرى الذي بيمنه رزق الورى وبوجوده ثبتت الأرض والسماء ولولاه لصاخت الأرض بأهلها واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من حين عداوتهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من أخلص لله 40 صباحا جرت ينابيع الحكمة من قلبه على لسانه صلوات. We were talking about the Islamic value system, the comprehensive Islamic value system, which as a believer, as a mu'min, we are supposed to strive and work hard in our life to acquire the nur of each of those values in our qalb. And in the previous lesson we talked about remembering dhikr al-maut, remembering the time, the death of ours all the time. It is a lot of thawab in Islam and a constant sunnat of Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam that they always used to remember the death. Every now and then a mu'min who shows up in front of the Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and we find in the history that they are talking about maut and death and the Day of Judgment. So this is something that every mu'min should strive to have in his life. And the sign of a mu'min who remembers death is very simple. He is radi and pleased with less of the material things. So, man akthara zikr al-maut radiya min ad-dunya bil qalil. Whoever remembers death a lot, he will be radi and pleased with less amount of things that he has from dunya. The less will be sufficient and he will be content. He will consider less to be sufficient for him. This is the sign whether we remember death in our life or not. If we want more and more and more and more, this is the alamat and sign that we are forgetting our death. Because fi halaliha hisab wa fi haramiha iqab. Like Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam has said, in the halal of this dunya there is hisab and accountability. We are held accountable tomorrow on the Day of Judgment, in other words, so we have to be scrutinized. And if he haramiha iqab, and the haram of this dunya carries the iqab, we have to have the punishment if we do the haram from in this dunya. So dunya is a risky thing. So that's why we find, obviously, in Islam, the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam is to have qana'at. Man qana'a shabi'a wa man lam yaqna' lam yashba'. The hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, whoever has qana'at will become full, and whoever doesn't have qana'at will not become full. So the only way to be fulfilled is to have qana'at. So, and whatever less we consider to be sufficient is going to be sufficing our needs. Because Imam Ali alayhi salam has said in his balagha that kullu muqtasarin alayhi kafin. Everything that you consider it to be sufficient and you iqtasar, you take it as enough for you, that much is enough for you. Whatever less you can take as sufficient, that will be sufficient for you. So obviously the bottom line in terms of our Islamic ahkam and jurisprudence is that anything which is within your haysiyatun urfiyya and your social status, things that you need in your life, it's okay in Islam to buy. If we live a simple life, that's better. More simple and more simple, that's better. But the red line starts after that. You are in the green line as long as you are buying things of this dunya within the limits of your haysiyatun urfiyya, sha'nun urfi, social status. All the things that you need within the limits of your social stat, that's okay. So this was about remembering the death. And the next thing that we started but we did not finish was intidharul faraj. That's another great value among the moral values of every mu'min in Islam. So in Mir'atul Uqul, which is the very famous sharh of Kitab al-Kafi of Siqatul Islam, Sheikh Kulaini rahmatullahi alayh. Kafi is a very important book. It's the biggest mother book of our hadith. Among the 4 mother books, isn't it right? We have, according to some narrations, the statement from Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam, where it says that al-Kafi, kafin li shi'atina. Kafi is kaf is enough for our Shias. So there's so much in the book of al-Kafi that's enough for our hidayat and guidance. In the sharh of al-Kafi, which is Mir'atul Uqul, volume 4, this narration has been mentioned that Abu Basir Abu Basir said to Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam that Yabna Rasulullah matal faraj. Faraj means opening. In Farsi we say gushaish, opening of the affairs. So when is the faraj? That means when after all the problems, the troubles, all those things which are stuck for the, when is that we're going to witness the opening in the affairs? The things get opened up and ease and comforted for us. We are feeling, that means there's so many troubles and problems and for the believers going on. So the faraj means the opening. So obviously Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has the ilmul ghaib, he has the knowledge of the unseen. He knew the niyat of Abu Basir. So Imam alayhi salam says to him, wa anta mimman turidu dunya, and you are among those who want dunya. That means why in the world are you praying for the faraj and opening of the affairs, that the faraj of Ahlul Bayt comes? There is an Islamic government established for Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Why are you wanting that? Because you are facing problems in your life, so you want your problems to be resolved? Is that the reason? In Islam, we don't intend for having comfort for our own selves. What we should intend as a mu'min is the comfort and faraj of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Let's have our intentions right, that when we are praying for the faraj of Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam, our niyat should be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides the comfort and ease from His problems, so that the government of adl and justice of Allah is implemented on the whole world, not for my personal selfish demands. This is not the right way of praying for the intidhar al-faraj. So we find that for the sake of i'la'u kalimatil haqq, the word of Allah and the word of truth be elevated, and the kalimatullah is installed in the whole world. قام القائم لا يبقى أرض إلا نودي فيها شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله. When the Imam al-Qaim alayhi salam will uprise, everywhere in the earth you will find this announcement taking place, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. On every corner of the world you find witnesses. So this is the end result of Kalimatullah being installed. Not for my personal selfish gains that I am facing some problem in my life, so I am now praying for the appearance of the Faraj, the opening for Imam Sahib Zaman Islam, for my selfish gains. This is very, very much selfish and mean approach towards the matter. So Imam Sahib Islam is basically doesn't agree with the approach of Abu Basir. And Imam said to him, وَأَنْتَ مِمَّنْ تُرِيدُ الدُّنْيَا. That means, are you one of those who want dunya? And then Imam says that you get comfort of your dunya from the problems that you are facing. Is that the reason why you are praying for the faraj of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam? In other words, so then Imam alayhi salam says, مَنْ عَرِفَ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ فَقَدْ فُرِّجَ عَنْهُ لِانْتِظَارِهِ. Whoever has the ma'rifat of this amr, that means if a person has the ma'rifat of the walayat of the imam of his time. Ma'rifat means in-depth recognition. Walayat means the hukumat and governance. If you have the in-depth understanding and recognition of the concept and the obedience towards the concept of the governance of the imam of your time, if you have that in-depth recognition and ma'rifat, فَقَدْ فُرِّجَ عَنْهُ. This person has already released from and put into comfort, released from, he has already been provided the opening, لِانْتِظَارِهِ, for the sake of he being muntazir. So what needs to be done, brothers and sisters, as we are talking about the value of intizar al-faraj being corrected in our understandings, is that we remove the selfish approach towards the Ahlul Bayt. Let's not remember the Ahlul Bayt for our own personal problems. Let's remember the faraj and opening of the walayat and hukumat of Ahlul Bayt for the sake of installation of the Kalimatul Adl on the whole world. That's the correct intention. So, because if you have focus on the comfort of your dunya, that means you are still lacking the ma'rifat of the Imam. And if you are lacking the ma'rifat of the Imam, even if Imam appears in your life, it's not going to benefit. So there is no benefit in talking about when Imam is going to appear. Just like when somebody said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when is the day of judgment? Isn't it right? Somebody asked the Prophet, when is the day of judgment? This is a very ghair munasib, a very inappropriate question. Husn su'al nisful ilm. Putting the question properly is half the knowledge. So when you put the question, it shows how much knowledge you have. So this is a very incorrect way of putting the question. Prophet did not reply to his question either. Instead, Prophet is mazhar of ism of al-Hakim of Allah. Isn't it right? So Prophet knows he has absolute wisdom. He did not reply to the question. It sounds to be a silly question. Why are you asking when the day of judgment is going to happen? What it has to do with you? What concern it has to my life and your life? No concern. What should concern us? What did we prepare for the day of judgment? Because Prophet said to him, what did you prepare for the day of judgment? That's the right concern for a mu'min. Instead of asking when the day of judgment is going to happen. So what if it happens tomorrow? It happens after 1 hour. So what? If I'm not prepared, even if I discover the day of judgment is tomorrow, does I benefit from it? No. So what benefits me is not the time of the day of judgment happening. What benefits me is my preparation for the day of judgment. So Prophet said, what did you prepare for the day of judgment? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I don't have much of the salat and saum for the day of judgment to present before Allah, but I have your love in my heart. I love you. I have your muhabbat. And Prophet said, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahabba. A man is with the one whom he loves. So that's the real thing that we learn from the hadith. Similarly, it's ghair munasib. It's very inappropriate and very, very inappropriate question if somebody says, when is the time of zuhur going to happen? What it has to do with you and me and my life and our life? Nothing. Isn't there 11 imams living and so many of the Shias gave them the hard time, so the imams became shaheed and Shias were protecting their own life? Except very few pious people. So what happens even if we find the imam? Didn't thousands of Shias already found 11 of the imams? Islamic walayat and the government of Ahlul Bayt still did not happen. Except for the few years of Imam alayhi salam, that also in the 4th place, not in the 1st place. People did the khiyanat towards the bay'at of the Ghadir of Amir Mu'min salam. So it's irrelevant when the zuhur happens. What the relevant question is, do I have the ma'rifat of the imam of my time? That's the real question that every moment should ask himself. If you have the ma'rifat, even if imam does not appear in your life, you are still successful. Imam will come to the grave of the mu'min, Ya hada, qad zahara imamuka. It will be said to the mu'min, oh your imam has appeared. If you want to rise up from the grave, come and join the imam. And if you want to stay in the karamat and respect of your Lord, stay. So Imam a.s. will come to the grave of a mu'min, and the mu'min will be resurrected from the grave if he had the ma'rifat. Even if he dies before the zuhur of the imam. And if he does not have the ma'rifat, even if imam appears in his lifetime, he will be just like those people of Kufa who did khiyanat towards Imam Hussain a.s. and Musa ibn Aqil a.s. So it's an irrelevant, ghair munasib question for a moment to say, when is the zuhur? We should ask, do I have the ma'rifat? That's the real question which needs to be focused. So we find in the famous story which is narrated in Al-Abqari al-Hisan. Al-Abqari al-Hisan is a wonderful book about Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. And in that book you find a story has been narrated from the father of Ayatollah al-Uzma al-Khu'i rahmatullahi alayhi. His father is Sayyid Ali Akbar al-Musawi. Sayyid Ali Akbar al-Musawi is the father of Ayatollah al-Uzma Khu'i rahmatullahi alayh. So his father narrates the story of the Qassab, the famous story of the butcher in the city of Hilla in Iraq. And it's a long story which I am paraphrasing in my own words. And this Qassab, he was a very nice mu'min. Some of the very nice mu'mins are very unrecognized people in the society. People don't recognize them, but they are very good. So we are not supposed to consider anybody to be haqir and lowly. لا تحقرن أحدا من المسلمين فإن صغيرهم عند الله كبير. So this Qassab was praying to Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam to appear. And once what happened is that Imam alayhi salam asked him, he came, Imam alayhi salam, it was told from the Imam to, bring your people. Those the same people that he thinks that there are a lot of supporters for the Imam, the Shias are ready and prepared for the Imam. So bring all those supporters that he thinks, bring the supporters. He brought a bunch of people that he thought to be very religious in the city of Hilla, and nice mu'mineen that he thought to be very good, very sabir, very having istiqamat, having resistance in the path of Ahlul Bayt and all that. So he brought them, and Imam asked him to bring a sheep on the top of the roof. And he was staying up there. Imam was called him and he went up there, and the zuhur happened. Imam arrived there on the rooftop of the place, and now one by one a mu'min is being called from downstairs towards the upper floor. And this Qassab is there on the upstairs, and the sheep are there on the roof already ready. So Imam alayhi salam, so one person is called, one mu'min is called from the ground floor to the upper floor, and when the mu'min is called, then Imam asked him to slaughter the sheep. And this guy is slaughtering the sheep, and the blood is coming out from the water spout falling downstairs to the ground floor. And now people start thinking, those people who are there on the ground floor, they thought that Imam is slaughtering these Shias. And people started to leave one by one. The second person was called, then more blood was dropping from the top towards the ground floor. And people continuously thinking that Imam is slaughtering these people. So our life is at risk. People are leaving one by one, one by one. Finally, when this Qasab comes down and he sees there's nobody remaining in the building, all of them have left. The same people that he thought are very muttaqi and pious, and they are musta'id and ready, they have isti'dad for the zuhur of the Imam, all of them have left. When it comes to protecting their life, they are protecting their life and they are not ready to sacrifice. So that place was still there in the story in Al-Abqariyul Hisan. It mentions that place, there is a place still remaining in the city of Hilla. Obviously, I don't know if it is there, but the book says it was there at that time. There was a qubba, there was a dome made on that place where Imam appeared, and it was saying, the writing was written there, هَذَا مَقَامُ صَاحِبِ الزَّمَانِ. This is the place of Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. So that was the spot where Imam appeared and this story happened. So we find that what needs to be understood, that isti'dad of the people is always gradual. Tadriji, gradual. So it's not the naqs from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah can send Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam the next moment. Allah bikulli shay'in qadir. Allah is qadir on everything. But Allah must not send down the Imam. Must not send back the Imam. Why? Because people are not ready. A lot of people are making fake claims. They are not sadiq, they are not truthful in what they are saying. So we find our scholars say, actually my teacher, Ayatollah Jawadi Amini Hafizahullah, was saying in his tafsir, talking about this verse of Holy Quran from Surah Al-Qasas, verse 5, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ. And we have wished أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا, that we favor on those who have been weakened, وَنَجْعَلَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً, and we make them the Imams, وَنَجْعَلَهُمُ الْوَارِثِينَ, and make them the inheritors. So the mustad'afin will be made inheritors. This ayat relates to Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. He is going to lead, he is going to inherit, and he is the leader. So hukumat of mustad'afin it's promised in the Holy Quran. Mustad'afin will come back to rule. Now the point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can arrange all the mustad'afin to become musta'id. Allah wants that. But people are not ready to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only way Allah can do is to make us like animals. Because animals, whatever Allah commands, they do. But there is no jannat, there is no, there is no imtihan for the animals. Isn't it right? So if Allah makes us majboor and forced to do that, then there is no reward, and then there is no test remaining. So if we are humans and there is a test and hisab and the day of judgment involved, then there has to be a freedom given to the humans. And because of this freedom, some humans have been misusing, abusing their freedoms in front of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already said in Surah Yasin, verse number 82, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا إِنَّمَا يَقُولُ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونُ. So whenever Allah commands and wants something to happen, He just says be, and it happens, it becomes. So this kun is not even the kun al-lafdhiyya. My teacher was saying in tafsir, Allah doesn't need to say the word, the lafz of kun. It is kun is mentioned in the ayat to make us understand. All Allah would do is the irada. Allah's wish and will is enough for something to happen. Irada of Allah is enough. Kun is not lafdhiyya. Allah is not muhtaj to say the word kaf and noon, kun, be. No, this is mentioned in the ayah to make us, the humans, to make us understand. the people who want to understand, I mean. So we find that if a teacher who teaches mathematics to the PhD class, he can teach the PhD level mathematics to the KG or the nursery class as well. He can teach. He is qadir, he is able to teach. But you think that the kids in the KG class will understand the mathematics of the PhD level? Even if the teacher wants to teach, will they understand? They are not ready to understand. They lack the istidad and capability to digest. And because they lack the capability, they need to be taken gradually, tadrijiyan, to the level where they become musta'id. So no taghut can play with their destiny in the name of freedom and democratization of the Middle East. Why the people are playing with the mustaqbal of the people? Because people are stupid. Ahmaq. They are buying the nonsense of the taghuts. They are not musta'id for imam of the time. So we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already mentioned in the Holy Quran, for those who are prepared, let's see how Allah does towards those who are prepared. The best example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is the best person to be prepared, to be called as prepared for everything, to receive the complete nur in his qalb, because he is the mother of taharat. Everything of his is tahir and tayyib. Isn't that right? So we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he uses the word inzal in the Holy Quran, in most of the cases, in aghlab al-mawarid in the Holy Quran, the word, when Quran, Allah wants to talk about sending down the Quran all at once. In most of the places, Allah talks about the word inzal, uses the word, the derivative of inzal. So Allah says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, in Surah Al-Qadr. Certainly we have sent down in the night of Qadr. So the Holy Quran was sent down in one shot on the soul, in the flash, one shot on the qalb of the Prophet. The whole Quran was in one package, sent down completely and totally in the night of Qadr on the qalb of Rasulullah. Look at the greatness and istidad and capability of the soul of the Prophet. And when it comes to the people, the same Quran, Allah uses the word tanzeel, that means gradual revelation. In Arabic is called tanzeel, not inzal. So when Allah uses the word tanzeel, you find it took 23 years for the community to understand and digest, to be able to receive the verses of Holy Quran. What the people were ready to receive in 23 years, Prophet was ready to receive in one flash on the qalb. Now you understand the difference? So we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending the Quran all at once. He says, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. In another verse of Holy Quran, Surah Dukhan, Allah says, Anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah. And when it comes to the people, look at Allah how He says, that Allah says, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Certainly we have sent down upon you the Quran, az-zikr means the Quran, لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ, so you explain to the people مَا نُزِّلَ, what was gradually sent to them, مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ, from tanzeel. So tanzeel is a gradual revelation on the people. When Allah is talking about the people, He uses the word tanzeel here in this verse. And when He's talking about the Prophet, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ, we have sent the whole Quran upon you so that you can explain to the people what was gradually sent to them. That's what the people deserve. They don't deserve to receive the whole thing all at once. They are not musta'id. So you find when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah A'raf, verse number 54, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the creation of the heaven and earth, إِنَّ رَبَّكُمُ اللَّهُ الَّذِي إِنَّ رَبَّكُمُ اللَّهُ الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام. Certainly your Lord is Allah who created the heavens and earth in 6 days. Another verse from Surah Fussilat, verse number 10, Allah says, قَدَّرَ فِيهَا أَقْوَاتَهَا فِي 4 أيام. Allah measured therein their sustenance, its sustenance in 4 days. So obviously ayam, days in these verses, does not mean the 24-hour day and night like we say day in English. That's not the day that we say. It means marahil. Our Mufassirin have mentioned in the tafsir that the word day in these verses does not mean our 24-hour day in the meaning that we use. It means the marahil and fusul, the stages. So Allah created the heaven and earth in 6 stages. The taqdeer of aqwat and our rizq and sustenance was made in 4 stages. Not that Allah is not able to do it all at once. He is able. The makhluk, the creatures are not ready to accept it all at once. The istidad, they are lacking. The qabiliyatul qabil is missing. The istidad of the recipients is missing. They are not prepared. So when you find the recipient is prepared, the situation is totally different. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about Hazrat Maryam salamullah alayha, Allah says that كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا. Whenever Zakaria, that means whenever Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salam used to go to visit Hazrat Maryam, he found there's rizq, there's food next to her. قال يا مريم, Hazrat Zakaria said, O Maryam, أنى لك هذا? From where did you get this? Obviously in the place of worship, in the place where Hazrat Maryam was kept securely, no human was allowed to enter other than Hazrat Zakaria alayhi salam. So it's a locked place. How did you receive these fruits which are not untimely? They are untimely fruits. It's not even the season of those fruits. So Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam replied back, قالت هو من عند الله. That means this food, this rizq is from Allah's behalf. It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Surah Al-Imran, verse 17. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides his rizq for whomsoever he wishes without hisab and accountability. But then our scholars say without hisab and accountability does not mean that there is no measure. There is a calculation in place. That doesn't mean Allah is giving without a measure and calculation. There is a planning on the rear end. There's a planning, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has his planning, his hikmat. Allah has his own measure and his own, consideration of the istidad of the people. According to the istidad, he provides. Not that he provides without any calculation. No. He always takes care of how much istidad that we have. So we find that the same Hazrat Maryam salamullah alayha, when she delivers Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, look at the fuyud and ni'am and blessings of Allah reaching this. For anyone who has the istidad, Allah gives the blessings straight away, without waiting for the long duration to go in the process of gradual receiving of the ni'mat. Like we are having a gradual receiving, isn't it right? Allah has taken Imam Sahib al-Zaman away from us, because we, his community, do not deserve to get the ni'mat of walayat of Ahlul Bayt straight away. Here we have that istidad. Let's accept, let's confess. But look at the greatness of Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about let's discuss another ni'mat of Allah. And that is, we find where Allah says, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِزْءِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. So after Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam gave birth to Hazrat Isa, obviously a woman who was pregnant, she delivers, she needs food, she becomes weak in her body, isn't it right? She requires strength and food and energy. So look at the arrangement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The tafsir my teacher was saying that Allah is commanding her, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ. That means you shake the trunk of the date palm, تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ, and the tree is going to drop upon towards you the fresh dates. رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا. So fresh dates are coming from a dried up branch of the date palm tree. The branch which she was shaking was totally dried up. It was not a fresh tree. And a tree has to be fresh, not dried up, to have fruits. So Allah is ready to provide dates, fresh dates, from a dried up branch of a tree without any dates. But the dried up branch will all of a sudden end up having dates, and she will move it and it will drop the fresh dates upon her because she is ready for that ni'mat. So Allah is not bakhil. When we are talking about intizar al-faraj, let's understand the concept before we move forward. That waiting for the opening, that means establishment and iqamatul adl, opening and for the walayat and hukumat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We, the community of Imam Sahib Zaman alayhi salam, are non-ahl. We are not musta'id. We are not prepared for the Imam. So that's the reason why we deserve to get this ni'mat tadrijiyan. That means gradually. So because we are yet to be prepared for the arrival of the Imam. Please say salawat. And in the letter that Imam Sahib al-Zaman wrote to Shaykh al-Mufid, إلى الأخ السديد والولي الرشيد الشيخ المفيد. That's the khitab and title of the letter in the beginning. That's what Imam Sahib al-Zaman has written, has sent to Shaykh Mufid. Imam al-Salam wrote 2 letters to Shaykh al-Mufid. 411 Hijrah and 413 Hijrah. That shows the azamat and greatness of Shaykh al-Mufid rahmatullah alayh. He is the ustad of Sayyid Murtada Alam al-Huda, Ayatullah al-Uzma Sayyid Murtada Alam al-Huda, and Ayatullah Sayyid Ravi rahmatullah alayhima, who is the compiler Murattib of Nahj al-Balagha. So Shaykh Mufid is not an ordinary personality. He saw in the dream, one night before, Shaykh al-Mufid saw in his dream that Hazrat Fatima al-Zahra sallallahu alayha comes with Hassan and Hussein alayhim salam. When she has Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhim salam with her, and she says to Shaykh al-Mufid in the dream, Ya Shaykh, allimhum al-fiqh. Oh Shaykh, teach them the knowledge of fiqh, the ilm al-fiqh, teach them the fiqh. Shaykh al-Mufid was shocked. Oh, who am I to teach Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain and Zainab? I have nobody to teach them. Isn't it right? And the next day he saw that the mother of Sayyid Murtada Alam al-Huda and Sayyid Ravi, who compiled Nahj al-Balagha, they were 2 kids. Their mother came to Shaykh Mufid and she brought her 2 kids and she said the same sentence, Ya Shaykh, allimhum al-fiqh. So Shaykh Mufid understood, this is the ta'bir of my dream. So these are great personalities coming. So Shaykh Mufid is such a great personality of our history, and he received 2 letters from Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. We keep on sending ariza. On 15th of Sha'ban we write the dua and send the ariza, our request to the Imam to listen to us and to fulfill our demands. But we have some great personalities for whom Imam Sahib al-Zaman is writing a letter to him. Look at the alamat of Shaykh al-Mufid, how much musta'id, how much isti'dad in the ruh of Shaykh al-Mufid. The Imam in his first letter, he says, إِلَى الْأَخِ الرَّشِيدِ وَإِلَى الْأَخِ السَّدِيدِ وَالْوَلِيِّ الرَّشِيدِ الشَّيْخِ الْمُفِيدِ. That means this letter is addressed to إِلَى الْأَخِ السَّدِيدِ, to a very strong brother, وَالْوَلِيِّ الرَّشِيدِ, and very mature friend who has rushd and understanding and growth and understanding, proper understanding. So he's a reliable friend of Imam alayhi salam. والشيخ المفيد. So then in that letter, obviously, if Allah wills, we can talk about the contents of the letter sometime, inshallah. But I'll just mention one thing in the letter where Imam alayhi salam said to Shaykh al-Mufid, talking about the Shias. He said, فَمَا يَحْبِسُنَا عَنْهُمْ إِلَّا مَا يَتَّصِلُ بِنَا مِمَّا نُكْرِهُهُ. That means nothing blocks our Shias from us. Nothing blocks them from us except what their bad deeds are reaching us. The bad amal. So their bad amal are the mane, they are the block from reaching us. So basically, that's the reason why the ma'rifat is not there. If the ma'rifat was there, ma'rifat of the faraj of the imam was there, we find that it will be not like this. So those who have the ma'rifat are praised by Rasulullah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has praised those people in his life. Then this is also narrated from Abu Basir, from Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, where he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ذات يوم وعنده جماعة من أصحابه. One day the Prophet said, and with him were a bunch of his companions. Prophet said, Allahumma laqini ikhwani. Oh my Lord, make me meet with my brothers. And marratain, Prophet said it twice. Allahumma laqini ikhwani. Oh my Lord, make me meet with my brothers. And faqala man hawlahu min ashabihi, ama nahnu ikhwanaka ya Rasulullah. Ama nahnu ikhwanuka ya Rasulullah. And those who were around the Prophet, they said to the Prophet, are we not your brothers? So you are praying to Allah that, oh my Lord, make me meet my brothers. Are we not your brothers? And Prophet said, Antum la. Prophet said, La, innakum ashabi. And you are not my brothers, you are my companions. So we understand the level of brothers is higher than the level of companions. Isn't that right? So then Prophet says, Wa ikhwani qawmun fi akhir az-zaman. My brothers are those people who come in the final days. Akhir az-zaman. Amanu wa lam yarawni. They have iman on me, but they did not see me. Isn't it right? So these people haven't seen the Imam, the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, but they are still having iman. They have the faith. لَقَدْ عَرَّفَنِيهُمُ اللَّهُ بأسمائهم وأسماء آبائهم من قبل أن يخرجهم من أصلاب آبائهم وأرحام أمهاتهم. Allah has introduced them to me with their names and the names of their fathers before Allah created them from the lineages of their fathers and put them out from the wombs of their mothers. That means Allah has introduced all those brothers of the Prophet, those great personalities. Allah has already introduced them to the Prophet with their names and the names of their fathers. And then Prophet says, لَأَحَدُهُمْ أَشَدُّ بَقِيَّةً عَلَى دِينِهِ مِنْ خَرْطِ الْقَدَادِ. One of them is stronger on his religion than خَرْطِ الْقَدَادِ. Qatad is a tree. There's a tree, a desert plant which has thorns. So khart al-qatad means if you are putting, if you obviously if you put a cloth or something or your hand or anything over that plant which has so many thorns, the plant of the desert having thorns, it will rip apart the whole cloth, or your hand will become bloody, it will, even the rats will scratch the thorns. So they are stronger than that. So even if they have those kinds of hardship, they are ready to be doing istiqamat and resilience over that. And أو كالقابض على جمر القضاء, or just like a person who is holding the fire, in other words, in his hand. So أولئك مصابيح الدجى. they are the torches of darkness. So these brothers, these people in the Akhir Zaman are superior than the Ashab of Rasulullah. They are the torches of darkness, where the rest of the humanity is drowned in hubb dunya. These people, without seeing Rasulullah, are having so much strong iman that they are guiding the rest of the people in their zulmat and darkness when they are obeying the taghuts. Masabih al-duja, and yunajjihum Allah min kulli fitnatin ghabra'in muzlima. Allah is going to save them from every fitna and mischief which is dark. So this is how the Rasulullah has been praising those people who have the awareness and the ma'rifat of the walayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and they are the people in the final days. So obviously we find some people saying that these 313 are very less number for the Imam. Well, obviously, as you know, the 313 is not the total count. These are just the elite commanders of the Imam, and we have already discussed that. But even 313 is a very big amount. When you find one Imam Khomeini ridwanullah alayhi is enough for the kuffar and tawagheet to rob them of their comfortable sleeps. When they end up saying that هذا المنفي الذي أزعج الشرق وحير الغرب وشغل العالم. That's how the enemies are saying, that this one person has basically put the East in the trouble and surprised the West, took the entire West into surprise, and he has occupied the world. So when one person can rob all these oppressors and zalimeen and taghuts and Zionists of their comfortable sleeps, and you find the media outlets are saying that, it all started by the revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979, all the Islamic as-sahwat al-Islamiyya and all the awareness in the whole world. And all the movements in the whole world is started by one man in our Tarikh al-Mu'asir, in our contemporary history. So we find if a person has the ma'rifat of the Imam, he is already in the opening. فَقَدْ فُرِّجَ عَنْهُ لِانْتِظَارِهِ, because he is muntazir. And I remember he used to say in his speech that Khudaya ma hichim, har story. Oh my Lord, we are nothing. Everything is you. There is nothing other than you. Whatever we have is because of you. And this government of ours belongs to Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. And we pray that Imam alayhi salam appears so we can present the small hadiyah of removing the taghut from our land and establishing of the laws of Quran in our land. We give us as a hadiyah to the Imam of our time. So we find that Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam has said, Bihar al-Anwar volume 51, يَغِيبُ عَنْ أَبْصَارِ النَّاسِ شَخْصُهُ وَلَا يَغِيبُ عَنْ, and I will end it at that. يَغِيبُ عَنْ أَبْصَارِ النَّاسِ شَخْصُهُ وَلَا يَغِيبُ عَنْ قُلُوبِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ ذِكْرُهُ. So Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam will be such that he will be not visible to the eyes of the people. He will be absent from the eyes of the people, but his zikr will be alive, will be there, will not be missing in the qulub of the mu'mineen. This is as long as we continue to have the zikr and remembrance of the Imam in the correct form, we will control our actions so it doesn't reach, our bad actions doesn't reach the Imam, so that we are blocked away from meeting with the Imam because of our bad actions. So when the hadith says أَكْثِرُ الدُّعَاءَ بِتَعْجِيلِ الْفَرَجِ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ فَرَجُكُمْ, do a lot of dua for the hastening of the opening, so that the opening happens quickly. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ فَرَجُكُمْ, because that's your opening. That will only happen when we do our side of the job, our side of the fariza, our side of duty. Then we will have opening for us. Because ad-da'i bila amalin كالرامي بلا وطر. Amir Mu'minin alayhi salam has said, a person who prays without the action is like a person who wants to throw the arrow without a bow. You cannot throw the arrow without a bow. Keep on praying. I see some of the people, saying, just praying and praying and praying without performing their duty. This kind of prayer is not going to lead us anywhere. It's da'i bila amalin. It's already told. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us to understand and to practice the ma'arif of Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, and to become muntazir in the true form of the word, so that we can have the qurb and taqarrub towards the Imam of our time. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفار والمنافقين. اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واخذل من خذل المسلمين. اللهم انصر واحفظ وأيد علماءنا الربانيين ومراجعنا الربانيين، لا سيما الولي الفقيه قائد المسلمين. اللهم انصر جيوش المسلمين وعساكر الموحدين. اللهم فك عن الأسراء المسلمين. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضى، وعجل في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان، واجعلنا من أنصاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأعوانه بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين.